Bitcoin's value is down, is it like 70%? And a lot of the other crypto assets are down even more than that. So what would you say to someone who says, well, why don't we just continue to use a digital stable coin like a USDC or whatever else might be out there? And yes, we've got, 8-10% inflation or more, but that's better than a 70% drop right now. And at least I kind of know what I'm going to be paying for a loaf of bread tomorrow in Venezuela.
Yeah, so I think that you got to think of money as a currency component and a property component. And the currency is the medium of exchange that you're going to use to pay your day-to-day bills. And that's a government monopoly. Every place there's a nation state, they're going to control the currency. And then the property is your long-term store of value, right? Whether it's your ranch or it's your collectibles or whether it's your company stock or whether it's Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is at its lowest level in a year and a half, and his company's major crypto bet is underwater. But that doesn't mean Michael Saylor's faith in the world's most popular cryptocurrency has waned. The Bitcoin evangelist has made his stance perfectly clear. Michael Saylor is the founder and CEO of the business intelligence company MicroStrategy. He is also known for being one of Bitcoin's most vocal supporters. He believes so much in Bitcoin that MicroStrategy as a company owns nearly 130,000 Bitcoins. The company even took out a Bitcoin-backed loan to buy $119 million more worth of Bitcoin. To say the Bitcoin evangelist has put his money where his mouth is would be an understatement. So, with the recent price drop of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market in general, how is Saylor reacting? In an interview on Not Investment Advice YouTube channel, Saylor elaborated on his beliefs about Bitcoin and the power of Bitcoin as a store of value. He insists that MicroStrategy has taken a long-term view of Bitcoin. Therefore, the short-term fluctuations aren't just noise. Before we listen to Michael Saylor, we want to appreciate all our viewers and subscribers. Thanks very much for watching our videos. We appreciate you more than you know.
The clear theoretical cutoff, I think, is 4 years. Like you want a really safe cutoff. Look at the 4-year moving average of Bitcoin. If you have money that you can afford to put away and hold for more than 4 years, you would be foolish to store it in a currency. Like even the strongest currency world, the dollar is the strongest currency in the world, but you would be foolish to store money for more than 4 years in the dollar. So I think that you look out and you say, well, stuff I've got that I want to hold for 4 to 40 years, I have to put in a property portfolio. And we're just going to debate whether you should buy a building, buy a company, buy a Bitcoin, buy a bunch of, art, right? That's another story. For less than 4 years, maybe you want a currency. I would think that, I would normally keep currency for 1 to 2 years, conservative 2 years. 2 to 4 years is being almost too conservative, but you want to be really conservative. You could keep 4 years of cash. Now, what would I say to people that said, why not use currency? Well, first I would say, if you live in Lebanon or Turkey or Argentina or Venezuela or anywhere in Africa or most places in Asia, you don't have the option to use the dollar. And so it's the wrong comparison. It's not a comparison of Bitcoin versus the dollar for the next 4 years. It's a comparison of Bitcoin versus the Turkish lira or Bitcoin versus the Venezuelan bolivar or Bitcoin, go Google blue dollar and check the black market rate of the current the current peso right now. And I'll do it just for our benefit. Blue dollar informal rate 267. Okay. And you look at the chart and you roll the clock back to 2017, it was 18. Okay. So what would I say to that person? I would say in the last 5 years, you have lost 95% of your wealth holding currency. Okay. You're like, well, why can't they just all buy dollars? Well, because it's illegal to buy the dollars. Go check the formal rate. The formal bank rate is 127 pesos to the dollar. The actual rate is 270. What's the difference? The difference is the bank won't sell you the dollars. That's why it's cheap, right? So Bitcoin is an option for anybody in the world that lives in a nation where they can't trust the bank or they can't trust the local currency. And that's the killer app for them. In that case, this is common sense, right? If I told you the currency was going to collapse in a month and you lived in Venezuela, you would keep 3 days worth of cash in the bolivar. You would keep a month worth of cash in the peso. You would keep a year worth of cash in the dollar, and you would keep the rest of the money that you owned in property. Go buy a car, go buy something. Because I'm telling you, right, that whatever you bought, if you bought 100 houses 5 years ago, 95 of the 100 are getting burned, and you'll have 5 houses in 5 years. So it's not complicated. So I think that the problem with all the currencies over the long term is the best currency in the world is going to lose 99.9% of its value on 100 years. The best. The dollar is going to lose 99.9% of its value over 100 years. Okay, so it's really just a question of what is your time frame. And if you look at the monetary inflation rate, in a good year for 90 years on average before 2020, it was 7% a year in the dollar, 14% a year in the developing world. And this is not controversial. Go study the history of currency collapses in Argentina, in Mexico, in Africa, in Russia's currency collapsed in 98. They all collapsed. So go study them and you'll realize that. So most currencies are losing 15% of their value a year, and the dollar is losing 8% of its value a year. But in 2020, we stamped down on the accelerator and the dollar started losing 16% or more of its value, actually 20% of its value a year for 2 years running, if you look at the M2 money supply. And that means everybody else started losing double that. And that's why you have riots in Sri Lanka right now. Right. That's why you have riots in Argentina. That's why you have a collapse in all sorts of places, because the currency's losing, when it's weak, it's losing 40% of its value a year. When it's strong, it's losing 15 to 20% of its value a year. And the only reason that you're not panicked in the US is because the CPI is manipulated to create the lowest possible inflation number, right? Which is, the lowest number they can possibly create is like 8% right now. But you don't got to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the rate at which stuff you need to buy is going up in price is more than 8%, right? Energy, food, I have friends, they run all sorts of normal real world companies. They go, yeah, like everything we used to buy 24 months ago is 50% more expensive now. And we passed the price increase on to all of our customers and they accepted it. And that's in the US.
Bitcoin, despite not having any practical applications like gold or oil, has intrinsically emerged as a store of value due to its durability and scarcity. Bitcoin's total supply is capped at 21 million, and it will never exceed that figure. Store of value, it is an asset class that does not lose its value over time like fiat, which is relatively volatile. Fiat currency is convenient as a daily medium of exchange and a medium of preserving short-term liquidity, but it does not retain its value well over time. Additionally, Bitcoin is a decentralized digital asset that works independently of central banks or governments, owing to the existence of a global network of nodes and miners. This provides some measure of privacy to Bitcoin users while simultaneously increasing the currency's security. A desirable store of value should also serve as a medium of trade, allowing it to be converted as needed. Bitcoin is exchangeable due to its fungibility, portability, divisibility, and widespread adoption. Regardless of the present price of Bitcoin, we strongly believe here at Savvy Finance that Bitcoin will be $1 million per coin in the not-too-far future. Keep buying the dip and stay savvy. Thanks for watching.